Hello guys, this is the Scribe and thank you for watching this YouTube video. So the Doctor Who series has taken a massive nosedive into complete oblivion, into the abyss of obscurity. Pretty much like my YouTube channel, but what the fuck, I haven't done much in recent years. I said this a number of years ago it would happen. In fact, I said this like 10 years ago, before anybody was covering this sort of stuff, that if they put the wrong people in charge of Doctor Who production, that things would go bad. And I also mentioned many years ago during the Peter Capaldi reign, there was something very odd going into the production. We had more political trash narratives where they were trying to stir race baiting and stuff like that, and putting in extreme feminism, like the Doctor being belted around by Clara Oswald. And if we don't forget the episode when she first walked into the TARDIS, spoken like a real man, you're just like the rest of them. It's been going on for quite some time. In the past, when we had David Tennant and we had Matt Smith, things were a little bit more calmer. They weren't perfect. We still had political propaganda within the show, but it was manageable. We could cope with it. It wasn't to the same extent it is today. Now what do I mean by political propaganda? I don't call it political correctness, because that means there's a sort of thing saying it's correct. I don't like the linguistics. It's political propaganda. They are making people look at certain things and they're trying to brainwash them to think a certain way, which could be dangerous. For instance, have a look at America in recent years. There wasn't people in the past blocking fucking roads all the time and getting run over because they were winding up the car driver, and they're blocking traffic and children getting rushed to hospital. Oh, you can't get through. We've got to teach you about our BLM, which was that Black Lives Matter thing, which has solved nothing. It's just created a lot of racial tension in the US, which didn't exist before to the same extent. They've not solved anything, they made it fucking worse. Smashing up their own neighborhoods, going after people, say, beat him up, he's white. That sort of thing does not work in real life. It does not help you, and it causes more problems. So all this race baiting that the BBC are doing, and they show it in America because that's where it was based, you know, Rosa Parks was in America, where all this tension is being caused, and race baiting is making people very angry at each other. And then the BBC make this propaganda masterpiece where they show every single white person as a bad guy, right? There were white people fighting for Rosa Parks. Oh, don't forget that. Don't show them. Don't bother with them fucking Christian, though. Just show the bad side of it all, so you can make the black people think, you know what, you were treated like scum because they were scum. All of them were scum. And if we didn't have laws to prevent this, everybody will be after you all the time, running you over, knocking you over, shooting you. We'll all be doing this all the time if it wasn't for the wonderful BBC. Yeah? This is how pathetic this kind of stuff is. It's propaganda. It's not political correctness, it's propaganda. And the whole point of it is to race bait and stir the population into a frenzy, so they can actually get them to, I don't know, what do you want? Are you evil, BBC? Are you fucking evil? Do you want people to go out and kill each other in the street? Is that what you're aiming for? Is it the population reduction thing that you're after? You know, you got people like Bill Gates saying you should eat this and this and this, and then he says we got to reduce the population by 90%. It's funny, you know, when you have other people who are in charge of the health industry, and what do they want to do? They want to reduce the population by 90%. There's sort of a fucking conflict of consideration there. I mean, they're not actually in it to help people. They're in it to cause as much damage as possible. It's a great shame. The things I'm seeing online at the moment is pretty good as well. We got people like Matrix Lord has mentioned it, Nerdotic, is it? And Bullstreak and all that. They've done some really good work on this. And I said this years ago. I said it will be a problem, I think before more or less anybody did. And it's come to pass. It's come to pass. I proved myself right when I said this will be one of the biggest problems with Chibnall's Run, is that it's going to get really, really bad. The politics in it are going to be sickening. They're not going to work, and they're going to cause great divides. What about this? Men can get pregnant too. Isn't that strange how you hear that in the media? And I think they're talking really about transgenderism, where, you know, woman is kind of transitioned, sort of not, into a man, taking hormones but still has the sex organs. So of course they can have periods and they can have birth, but the BBC are saying that, oh, it's all men, you know, it's all men, because they can't really decide what a fucking man actually is in the media anymore. And in college they're trying to confuse people and children. And also, you know, 2-year-olds and 5-year-olds in school, you know, you can have a sex change at that age, apparently, because that's a great idea. Helps with population reduction, doesn't it? If you get children at 2 to 5 years old having sex changes, that really fucking helps. You know, cuts down the population. At the same time, when they get older and realise they can't have kids and they've been fucking screwed out their fucking life, we're going to end up with more suicides too. And this is all because of TV programs and the establishment and also education system brainwashing people into destroying their own fucking lives. And the BBC are buying into it. Doctor Who is buying into it. What about that part where Peter Capaldi said, we've risen beyond sexual genotypes and stuff like that? You know, you can have a sex change whenever you want. So if you're not having a sex change, you're obviously a scumbag. Yeah, you're just a weakling human, despite the fact that he tried to destroy Gallifrey. But, you know, back then, that's what we thought. And apparently, you know, he brought it all back and everything was fine and magical, so they could come up with all this propaganda shit. So it is hitting a very big low with the community. People are seeing right through it. And it's your own fault, BBC. If you want to solve this problem, I don't think you should tick any boxes at all. Because any boxes you tick with your docked flag shit show is always going to be done in the worst possible way. What about people like saying how bad, what's that thing called that was in the Amazon episode? Capitalism, right? They're against capitalism. They're saying it's bad. You know, oh, the drinking, taking all the oxygen, you can't have that much because they'll let you die and stuff like that. That was in one episode. And they also had a recent episode actually, which showed Thomas Jefferson in a very bad light. Now, Thomas Jefferson on the media, if you haven't seen it on the mainstream and also the alternative media, has been seen in a very bad light because allegedly he stole a lot of ideas, and he probably did. But then again, he was a businessman. He offered them opportunities of making a living, and he provided them with a standard of living they would not normally have. This is what all industries work, by the way. People, the car manufacturing industry, the computer industry, the iPhone industry. The iPhone wasn't created by Steve Jobs, okay? For all you worshipping out there who worship Steve Jobs as if he's the coming of Christ, he didn't invent that stuff. That was invented by clever people in America, China and other countries. They invented it, not him. He just told them to make something. Oh, make a screen that's able to be very, very wafer thin or something. Oh, look, I'm the one who did it. That's Steve Jobs. He's exactly the same as Thomas Jefferson. But yet they showed them in a very bad light. The fans of Doctor Who, the ones who seem to think Doctor Who's great no matter what, gave him a round of applause for that. That's great, well done. And then when we saw the episode with Amazon, I'm not sure exactly what they were trying to point out with the, but the person who was against extreme form of capitalism, it's not actually really capitalism, but it was complete automation. So everything in the future is automated. Computers can do everything. Machines are made to automate machines, and humans are not needed for much anymore. Now there is discussion there that's needed. One could say that if that happens, the government wouldn't need to keep many people alive, for instance, so there's a danger there in itself, because governments can be corrupt, and we've seen many governments become corrupt. But it also limits the people. You can't exactly give people free money either. So people will say, well, we can't get any jobs, so we can't buy this, so most of the population is out of work. So people on the right of politics will be against giving people free money, and of course the left are right for free stuff without working, because they think this is some type of magical utopia. But both sides cannot see that there is a danger here. There's an inherent danger when people got nothing to do, have no money. Obviously wars will break out at some point. So the issue there is that anybody who thinks maybe there's a problem, it needs to be discussed how humans could actually evolve past the use of automation and can come up with new ideas, is obviously a terrorist to the BBC. That's a terrorist, and that's how they promote their visions of politics. Anybody who's against the politics they are trying to show in a good light is the bad guy, always the bad guy. So left or right, right? So if they're going against the left and saying this is a bad idea, that person will be seen as a terrorist, as an evil dictator, just evil people. Or if they're going against the right, those people will be seen as evil. And it's weird how the people who are for capitalism also for complete automation, which is the extreme form of capitalism. So they're against the middle and lower ground of capitalism, but they're completely for the extreme end of capitalism, because that's the baffles me how people actually think sometimes. Yeah, the Doctor Who is going to fall further. You can expect to see below 1 million if it carries on to the next season. What do I think the lowest ratings will be this year? Probably about 3.2 million. Because we're coming up to the final. The final always gets a bit more viewers just to see what's going on. But I don't think it'll be very good. I think they're struggling now, and I don't think the BBC are interested in stopping this. It's like, do you think just because the news round is getting, let's say, a couple of million views, or under 1 million views, that they're going to stop it? No. They won't stop it if they think they can get enough people indoctrinated. That's why they'll keep this shit going. Now, if we're lucky, the BBC will sack Chris Chibnall, and we'll get rid of this doctor, from this imposter in the TARDIS, somebody who doesn't belong in there, and get somebody who's a little bit decent. The actors don't matter as much as the writing team, by the way, and the main producers. What they really need to do is get rid of all politics, both left and right. Just because I'm against most of the things on the left doesn't mean I want everything to be shown in my light, in my political sphere of understanding. I don't want my politics put into the show either. I just prefer a clean show. I want to come home after we've done work, right, to sit down on the couch and just put my feet up and watch a TV show without being bothered by all the politics that are around Earth and all the worries about everybody and all the things that they think they should expose to the world. I don't want to see that on the show. I just want to sit down, watch a decent TV show and enjoy it, like we did in the old days. And people say, well, Doctor Who's always been political. Yeah, it kind of has been, but it's not to the same level. It wasn't preaching, and if you remember David Tennant's Doctor, he was always praising humans. He was saying how well they think and how good they solve problems and how they advanced out there into the open. It was advanced into space. It was wonderful to watch. It inspired you to be a better person. The news show doesn't inspire you to be anything. What it does is it makes you think you're a scumbag. And that's how this psychopath, Chris Chibnall, is actually trying to run the show. Now, it could be that some of this is coming from the BBC themselves, and we've got a bunch of fucking narcissists working in the BBC who wish to promote certain kinds of propaganda based on whatever. I mean, the likelihood is that the propaganda is there to damage humans, or at least cause confusion, like, you know, there's transgender toilets and stuff like that. There's no real reason to have those. Well, it's not just transgender toilets, like what is it, 10,000 different genders and stuff like that. Whatever. It gets really confusing, because what you got to have 10,000 different toilets, and maybe the production team of Doctor Who can cover that somehow. Yeah. And maybe after this you can cover people leaving bad videos on YouTube about your Doctor Who program, and maybe bad comments online. Maybe you can cover that too. And rape, maybe you can cover that too with your Doctor Who show. Maybe you can cover you know, it gets bad. And if people are just covering their own politics, the other side doesn't get seen, and they're always seen in a very bad light. It doesn't work on TV as well as you think. And that show that some of the people like, what was it, Nerdotic, seem to promote. What's that show he says is a good one? It's, I can't remember what the bloody fucking name is. There must be a reason why I can't remember. Let me just have a quick look on the computer, because obviously it's got to be here somewhere. I have watched a few episodes, so it usually helps. The Orville, right? In the show, they don't have to cover every single fucking thing under the sun, every single politics under the sun, like gays and lesbians and sex with robots. It's like a fucking tick box show. It's done in a little bit of a different way, but I don't want to see that in Doctor Who either. They're covering everything in that Orville. So as nice as it is to see the other side, it's still something I don't want to see. I just want to see a clean show without politics, without any worry. I want to sit down with a glass of fucking whiskey, loads of chocolate and cake and pizza, you fucking name it, burgers and fucking wine and the dancing women next to me, whatever, you know, a fucking big straw on a fucking beach with a big fucking projector onto the fucking sky and watch some decent Doctor Who. That's my dream of how this show should actually be, but it won't ever be that again. What's going to end up being is a cancelled show if they don't change their ways, and maybe people will come back if they get rid of Chris Chibnall and those awful people in the TARDIS. The Doctor calling companions fam is really, really annoying, and plus the fact every single time she's talking about things that's going on, about the obvious, mind you, it doesn't seem like good acting. It just looks rubbish. Anyway, I've talked for long enough, and I hope you enjoyed my little rant, and I'll see you again later. Thank you for watching. Goodbye for now.